step to this? Face the pain, no escape, can you step to this? Face the pain. Face the pain, no escape, can you step to this?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fixed Fights podcast with Kurt and Ben. As always, I'm Kurt. I'm here with my main man, Ben. What's going on, dude?
Not a lot. Still kind of like recovering from a bonkers UFC card that we're going to talk about, but pretty good.
Yeah, honestly, that was one of the probably the best cards, at least fight night cards or whatever they call them now. ESPN Plus. I don't know whatever the hell they call them now. But there's many iterations for them. But yeah, honestly, one of the best, I think, free ESPN cards of the year. It was freaking awesome, and really an action-packed weekend all around.
Yeah, like I was looking back through at some of the cards the UFC has put on this year, and like there were bigger name value. They had that one card with like three title fights, but in terms of like just in cage action, it's pretty hard to beat what we saw this weekend from the UFC.
I agree. But first, before we talk about that, let's open up the show with kind of what we opened up with last week, and that's Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. Last week we kind of said that this was the fight to make. Of all the Conor options, you had Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. That fight is being pushed back, so it opened up the main event slot for that UFC, 256 card, I believe?
That sounds right, yeah.
And then 255 also lost Cody Garbrandt in the flyweight title fight, who's a big name. And then this past week, it came out, Conor McGregor posted on Twitter that he officially accepted, I'm going to quotation, officially accepted the fight with Dustin Poirier. Apparently they offered it for January, but Conor said he'll do it, but not in January. He'll only do it in 2020, either the November or the December date. I put out a tweet saying, be cautiously optimistic about that. I think it's right because we're now a week later. We haven't heard anything else from Conor McGregor. And this is what Conor does. He gets you excited. He puts out all this stuff. And then he kind of goes radio silent, right? So, I don't know. What do you make of it, man? Are we going to get this fight or are we not going to get this fight?
I mean, I'm still pretty hopeful for it. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you to be cautious. I think I honestly cannot understand his like stipulation that it has to happen in 2020. Like why? Like, you're not a business that needs to like get all your taxes in, right? Like I have no idea why he's saying it needs to happen in 2020. That does give me pause because it makes me think that he has some sort of specific stipulation or he's not outright accepting these fights. Obviously, there's something else going on. I mean, I'm still hopeful as I can be about a Conor McGregor fight happening, right? Like I would put it maybe 50% happening, but that's of all the fights that McGregor is going to take next, this seems like the most likely, right? So I'm cautiously optimistic. Obviously, Poirier wants it to happen. There's a little bit of fan momentum there behind it. We've said it every week that like, you could put McGregor in there with a fucking donkey and people will pay money to see it. So put him in there with a elite lightweight like Poirier and people are going to tune in. Cautiously optimistic, but like, yeah, I don't want to like dedicate any emotional energy to that fight happening so far.
I think he just always wants the upper hand, right? Like He always wants to say, so it's like, if they say the sky is blue, he's going to say the sky is aqua, or you know what I'm saying? Like he's always just got something to say. He wants the upper hand. He wants to run the show. And I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think 50-50 is about right. Like, I believe that they've offered the fight. I believe that Dustin Poirier has accepted the fight or will accept the fight at any date. But again, it's Conor McGregor, man, and Dustin Poirier is a dog. This is not, Dustin Poirier is the dude at 155 that like. But again, it's like, if Conor wants to fight Khabib, right? Mm-hmm. And here's one thing I will say. We're going to talk about this a lot next week, obviously, but yeah, Khabib's great, but he's fighting Justin Gaethje. Let's not sell Justin Gaethje short. It's like everything is next for Khabib, next for Khabib, next for Khabib. But man, don't count out Gaethje, boy. He is a stud. But yeah, if you want to get to that Khabib fight or that Gaethje fight, fight a guy like Poirier, fight a guy like Chandler, fight a guy like Tony Ferguson. Like, these are the guys you got to fight if you want to get that fight. And dude, the Dustin Poirier fight's on the table. Sign the damn card. Dude, I think, man, if you put the greatest female fighter of all time in the co-main event, title fight against Megan Anderson, and book that Conor versus Dustin fight 5 rounds in the main event, you got yourselves a pay-per-view, man. That's the way they got to go.
Yeah, I'm totally sold on that idea. Totally sold on it. And yeah, I do echo the statement that like it feels like McGregor is still like really building up for a rematch with Khabib after obviously he got completely trounced in their first fight. And yeah, like Gaethje is no fucking pushover, and I don't know if McGregor has devoted any of his trash talk towards Gaethje, toward building that fight or anything like that. But you better believe that whoever wins this weekend will like McGregor will then have them in there. Not this weekend, sorry, but next weekend. Whoever wins between Gaethje and Nurmagomedov, McGregor's going to have them like lined up. He's got tweets at the ready. They're going to go off at like 2 a.m. after that fight happened, and we're going to be talking about it again. Even though that's obviously like a huge fight, it's still going to be the McGregor sweepstakes are going to be happening.
You know what? I wonder if Conor is holding back from. I don't. You know, again, I don't know if a contract has officially been offered or not for like a different date, but I wonder if he's holding back to see the result, because I think if Gaethje wins, Gaethje's not going to hesitate to fight Conor. You know, and again, like, what do you think the UFC does? Let's say Gaethje wins, right? Do they go Khabib versus Gaethje 2? Or do they go Gaethje versus Conor? You know, what's the more lucrative deal? I feel like it'd be Conor, right?
I think McGregor is the biggest fight for basically anybody.
Right. Because
And
you know, I think Khabib. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but I think Khabib, you know, he's been hesitant about fighting McGregor again. So I think if he does win, he's gonna want that. Like, he's already said, like, beat Dustin Poirier and I'll fight you again, right? But whereas if Gaethje wins, I don't think Gaethje would hesitate to fight Conor again if it's offered. I mean, fight Conor if it's offered.
yeah, he seems a little bit more of a company man in that regard, Gaethje compared to Khabib. Like he's gonna take whatever, and yeah, company man aside, like he probably stands to make more money fighting Conor McGregor than anybody else in the world.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, again, cautiously optimistic. I hope it happens, but I'd be very surprised if that fight, Dustin Poirier and Conor, was officially announced prior to the Gaethje Khabib fight.
Yeah, I mean they want to keep Conor's options open, and it's also worth noting that Ali Abdelaziz manages both Gaethje and Nurmagomedov, and there's like a beef there with Ali and Conor and his team. So I would be shocked if, I mean, I guess I would be a little surprised if Khabib beats Gaethje and comes out and is still like angling for a Conor fight, because like you said, like he seems pretty uninterested. But I would totally expect Gaethje to go after that fight, because why not? I mean, he would instantly be one of the biggest stars in the UFC, and then he's gunning for the biggest star in the UFC.
Yeah, I agree, man. A lot of interesting stuff coming up in the next couple weeks.
Sure.
Let's jump to some action that happened this weekend, though. As we alluded to at the beginning of the show, man, we got one of the best fight cards, I think, of this year, and it was live on ESPN Plus. I guess you can't say free because you have to pay for ESPN Plus, but for a small fee, it was on ESPN Plus. It was headlined by Cory Sandhagen and Marlon Moraes, a big fight in the bantamweight division. I was pretty damn surprised at it, man. I called Moraes by first round knockout. I bet on Moraes by first round knockout. I really felt, even if he didn't get the knockout, that he was going to win. And man, Cory Sandhagen surprised me. The dude's a stud. I knew he's a stud, but dude, he looked really impressive here. Super close. And then he hits Moraes with like this crazy spinning wheel kick off the top of the head. Finishes him with strikes. Can't say enough about Cory Sandhagen, man.
Yeah, I mean, I picked Sandhagen to win, but I think even I was underrating him a little bit. Like he went kick for kick with Moraes in the first round, which is like nobody really does that. People that go kick for kick with Moraes off the jump usually end up knocked out in under 5 minutes, which is why I think you're betting Moraes by first round knockout is like not a bad a bad like prediction at all. Yeah, Sandhagen obviously uses his movement really well, uses his frame really well. I think the Moraes just kind of had an issue finding his range here. Like Sandhagen just kind of moving in and out, touching with little pitter patter here and there, um, punctuated with like some big kicks. Like, can't say enough impressive things about Sandhagen here. I still think he's gonna have issues. Not that he's lost on the ground or anything of that sort at all, but I still think he's gonna have issues against the better wrestlers in the division, the better top control artists. Um, but fuck, beautiful. And it's crazy that obviously like this wasn't even close to the best knockout on the card. Um, just an incredible performance. His kicking game, his striking game is absolutely something to behold. And he's a real problem. In my mind, he kind of takes the place of where I saw Marlon Moraes in that division as just like an absolute dangerous opponent to anybody there. Obviously, he got submitted real quick against Aljamain Sterling, but I still think Sandhagen is like top 3, top 4 bantamweights in the world.
Yeah, I think the stance switching was
Yes.
was throwing Marlon off a lot. He's like you said, he's in and out. His stance is switching. He throws well from both sides. He kicks well from both sides. He's long. He's lanky. Yeah, dude, I can't gush enough about him, man. And let me match the bantamweight division up for you, and tell me what you think. I said this the other day when this happened. Yesterday, the other day. I said this last night when it happened. I honestly think the biggest winner here was Aljamain Sterling. I don't think there's any possibility you can screw Aljamain Sterling out of a title shot now, right? For some crazy reason, they just will not announce him as a number 1 contender, but now it's like they have no choice. So you go Aljamain versus Jan for the title, no brainer. Cory Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. He's coming back in 2020. He's eligible to come back. And then, no brainer for me and a lot of the hardcore fans, Dominic Cruz versus Frankie Edgar. That's how I want to see it booked. What do you think?
I fuck with it all. I fuck with it all. I'm down with it. I'm trying to think. Obviously, like nobody in their right mind can disagree with Aljamain Sterling getting the next title shot. 100% agree with you because there would be an argument to be made, like a good one. If Moraes came out there and starched Sandhagen, or even just won by decision, there would be a good argument to be made that Moraes deserves a title shut because he was booked, right, against Jan at one point.
He was.
It Jan or
Yeah. No,
so,
he was booked with Jan. Obviously pre-title, but
yeah. So that's that's out of the question. I think Sterling is the clear number 1 contender here. Man, I wish maybe Garbrandt will give up on going down to fight to 125 and that title shot now that fight is canceled. I don't think that's likely. I think he's probably still going to try to do that. But if you throw Garbrandt in there, I mean, I would love to see Sandhagen Garbrandt, for example, for like a number 1 contender fight. But what you laid out, I think makes a ton of sense. Especially the Edgar Cruz fight. 2 like vets, 2 guys that still have it, but kind of don't have it to a degree. Like, I'm all for it. Bantamweight right now is just it's popping off. I will say that it's popping off. I hope Garbrandt stays at 135 because if Garbrandt stays there and the UFC doesn't want to do him fighting at 125 for whatever reason, like he's even more fun. Like I said, Sandhagen Garbrandt feels like a pants off type of fight. I'm not gonna lie.
And I think Sandhagen Edgar would be fun.
Yep, that's a possibility.
I also think Dominic Cruz, Jose Aldo would be fun.
Yep.
Dominic Cruz, Marlon Moraes could be fun. Yeah, dude, bantamweight's popping off right now. But yeah, I feel Frankie just got a big win, but like I don't want. I'd really like to see him fight like a Dominic Cruz, man, or even like a Jose. No, he fought Jose Aldo twice. Yeah, I'd like to see him fight Dominic. I mean, I think that's the fight.
I also wouldn't. I don't want this fight, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they do like Sandhagen Edgar, because Edgar's coming off that win.
He's coming off a big.
But yeah, I mean, Edgar Cruz feels like the fight to make at bantamweight, and then the rest kind of just falls into place, like exactly how you said, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. You got a lot of names to play with. I mean, Pedro Munoz, although he lost, is still a stud. TJ Dillashaw coming back, I think, is kind of flying under the radar. I mean, prior to that monstrous fall from grace that he had, I mean, dude was killing it at bantamweight for a long, long time. So,
that's also a pants off fight. Sandhagen Dillashaw is also like incredible.
I think that's the one, man. I'm interested to see how Dillashaw looks coming back after what, like, it'll be 2 years off by the time he comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. You got a lot to play with at the bantamweight division. Bantamweight is definitely popping off right now.
If the UFC does not do Aljamain Sterling next, which for whatever reason they seem hesitant to, like, who could they possibly slot in there to fight Peter Yan?
Frankie Edgar. That's it.
God,
literally that's it, right? Like Frankie, I think is always going to be that dude that like gets title shots, right? We've seen him in like 300 title shots. I love Frankie. Not all of them have been warranted, but there's literally this guy Cory Sandhagen just spinning heel kicked Marlon Moraes, and Aljamain Sterling beat him handily, super quick. There's no, I don't think there's just it's as clear as day, man.
It's just so weird. It's just so weird that in this division, remember, like, they announced Peter Yan, and I'm a huge Yan mark. Like, I've been saying for 2 years that he's the best bantamweight in the world. So I wanted to see him fight for a title. But remember, they like announced Peter Yan as fighting for a title way before anybody else. I can't remember the exact instance, but Dana White was even like, it's going to be Peter Yan against undecided.
Right.
Like,
right.
Why is Aljamain Sterling? Why can they not do that with Aljamain Sterling, who is insanely deserving now? Especially, like you said, considering that he just beat Sandhagen without breaking a fucking sweat, and then Sandhagen just spinning wheel kicked the biggest destroyer, one of the biggest destroyers the division has ever seen.
And it's crazy because, like, Aljamain's like a Sarah guy, right? Sarah's super close with Dana White. Like, he's got a fun personality.
Yeah.
He's good on the mic. I don't know what it is. I have no idea, but I just don't see any possibility you can go anywhere but Aljamain Sterling, but they still haven't announced it. So who knows? And it feels like that fight should happen this year, right? Like,
I mean, why not? Sterling's clearly not hurt. Yeah, there's plenty of time. I mean, that would certainly, it wouldn't be a huge fight, but they could slot that into 255 or 256 for sure.
They could.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they still will, but yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. It's got to be Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
All right, moving down the card, the co-main event. Edson Barboza gets his first win at featherweight, beats Marwan Americani by unanimous decision. Finally gets a decision to go his way, although this one was not even close. Had some fun exchanges, dude. Edson looks really good, man. He looks good at featherweight. He looked good at featherweight again. Looked a little bit strange with the hair, but nonetheless, he gets a big win here.
I thought he looked good, and I think it tells us a lot about kind of where Amir Khani is. I think he's kind of hit his ceiling. But yeah, I thought Barboza clearly carries a little bit more power at 145, I think. What was it? He threw like 3 straight right hands, and all 3 like dropped Amir Khani here.
Second round, right?
Yeah. And it's crazy that he has he had a speed advantage against Dan Ige, who is not a slow featherweight at all, and he had a very obvious speed advantage here. So yeah, no, it was good to see him back, and especially after we I think rightfully questioned what Barboza was doing dropping to 145, because he was always such like a shredded, lean guy. We didn't really know where that was going to come from, but he fought for 15 full minutes here, defended some takedowns, and flashed his power. I was impressed.
Yeah, I was impressed too. And again, featherweight's kind of another division that has a lot of different names, a lot of big names. Do you have any ideas? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm looking at the rankings now, and there's a ton of fun fights. Shane Burgos is coming off a loss to Josh Emmett, but if they want to do that, I would get all the way down. I mean, because Burgos also has a win over Amir Khani. That's kind of why it jumped into my mind. Even Josh Emmett, I know he's injured, and I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but even Barboza against Josh Emmett would be a banger. You kind of look up the rankings. I don't know if Sadiq Youssef has a fight right now.
That would be a banger too.
There's a lot of 145 is filled with these types of guys that are like heavy-handed kickboxers, basically, which I used to kind of think of 45 as a wrestlers division with guys like Chad Mendez and Clay Guida, that types. But look at the rankings now. I mean, Volkanovski is certainly a wrestler. But guys like Korean Zombie, Yair, Calvin Kattar, Josh Emmett, a wrestler to a degree, Arnold Allen, like all these guys are just like absolute bangers.
Yeah, I mean, I think any guy you put Barboza with,
Right.
especially if they're a strike first fighter, it's gonna be crazy. I saw some calls for and I don't hate this fight, but I would just rather go a different way. Calvin Kattar versus Edson Barboza, but man, I still think Calvin Kattar versus Max Holloway is the fight to make. Like that's a no brainer, man.
I mean, that would be a fun fight. Kattar Barboza would be a fun fight. That is for sure. But like, Kattar deserves a step up at this point.
Does
A
Max,
pretty big
Max
step
is the
up.
dude.
Yeah, Kattar Holloway is the fight to make, which is as much as I love Edson Barboza, I think that's an even more fun fight. Kattar against Holloway.
I agree.
So,
I agree, man.
yeah.
But nonetheless, it's good to see Edson Barboza get a big win here. Marcin Tybura beats Ben Rothwell by decision. That was a pretty fun fight. Kind of like your go to the gas station and get 3 hot dogs from the gas station type fight, but fun nonetheless. I'm a little upset we didn't get to see the classic Ben Rothwell laugh on the mic. Remember when he did that? That shit was hilarious.
I will never. I like blubbery heavyweights to begin with, but Ben Rothwell is like the ultimate blubbery heavyweight. Just because he doesn't, his technique is like completely his own. He stands with his fucking feet square in front of guys and just like throws these little like bear claw punches. Yeah, I like Ben Rothwell, even though I mean this was like the epitome of a Ben Rothwell fight, like him just like standing and trading punches for 15 fucking minutes, getting pretty fucking tired, but still doing it anyway. And I feel like the first round he threw like 135 strikes or something, which is absolutely fucking crazy for a heavyweight of his like size and build to be fighting like that. So I always like Ben Rothwell, and yeah, I mean, I guess it's good to see Marcin Tybura back in the win column.
Yeah, agreed. Quickly moving on to the rest of the card before we get to the obviously the big story I think on this card, sans the main event. DDP, much easier to say than Dricus Duplessis, maybe.
I think Duplessis, I think is what they were saying on the broadcast.
Guy looks like South African, right?
Yeah, guy looks like a model.
Yeah, can fight though. I mean, dude, he knocks out Marcus Perez. Another heavyweight that gets a big win is Tom Aspinall. He's 2-0 in the UFC. It looks like a really, really bright prospect. He's built pretty well for that division. Chris Daukaus gets a big heavyweight win by knockout. Cast out big on him, man. He was a big underdog coming into this fight. I have no idea why. I think I got him at like plus 245 or something crazy like that. I have to go back and look, but he gets a big win. Tom Breeze gets a knockout. And dude, Joaquin Buckley gets, I think this is hands down, not even close, the knockout of the year, but possibly one of the best knockouts we've ever seen in MMA. Am I wrong by saying that?
I don't think you're wrong at all. I think especially just that, like if there wasn't a huge drama here. It wasn't like, I feel like a lot of people have been rightfully comparing it to like Yair against Korean Zombie a few years ago or a couple years ago at this point. So there wasn't that like drama. It wasn't a last second KO. It wasn't a come from behind anything. It wasn't that drama, but just the clip, that like 6 seconds of him throwing the kick, getting it caught, and then like a spinning sweet chin music. I don't know how else to call it. A push kick to the face, basically. That clip.
A spinning push kick to the face.
I mean, I think it might be the prettiest. I mean, you got to think back to when Barboza spinning wheel kicked Terry Edom. That was like, remember, like the beauty, that was like the first high level, like perfectly executed wheel kick that I can remember happening in like major MMA. And that like kind of broke all of us as like, holy shit, this is real. But this is like just another level. The way Impa Kasangane kind of went out on his feet and like slowly did the fall to the side. Fuck, man. It's beautiful. And I saw like the UFC tweeted the video, and I want to say it has like over 2 million views or something right now. Like it's crazy.
Dude, I checked it literally like probably like 10 minutes before we started recording, and it's at 11.6 million.
Okay, then I'm
Dude,
totally.
it's all over. Like people that don't even
Yeah.
like know what MMA is are like freaking out about this.
Yes.
It's like,
Okay. It was at 8.2 million views 10 hours ago. So
yeah,
last night, basically.
yeah. It might be over 12 million right now.
Jesus.
It's insane, dude. Like just the thought to throw that after the kick gets caught, and it's not like he's sitting there with the kick caught for 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. Like it gets caught. Impa almost goes to like pass it by, and he has the balance and the thought to throw a spinning kick. And yeah, like you said, the way it just directly like hits Impa in the face, he goes limp, the eyes roll back. I mean,
And
man,
I mean, similar to Barboza against Edom, like I love that there was no follow up. Like that's it.
that's
Like
it.
this guy's I mean, that's how Edom fell too, I guess. It was the stiffen up on his feet and then going down. Um, just a beautiful, beautiful knockout. Yeah, I mean, the like when I think about best knockouts in MMA history, I do like tend to take into account the magnitude of the situation,
I agree.
right? Like, I think about like Rampage Jackson knocking out Chuck Liddell, for example. Like that was in its own right like a beautiful knockout, but it's also like in my mind one of the best because it was kind of an important passing of the torch there. There's not a big. I mean, this was the fifth fight on a ESPN Plus card. It like wasn't a huge moment, but in terms of like the absolute beauty of it, fuck, I cannot think of a prettier knockout. Honestly, like in MMA history, like think of the coolest kick knockouts or the coolest punch knockouts. Like it's
This has got to be it.
yeah,
Or
this is it
very very high up on the list.
for sure, for sure.
And then did you see his interaction with Dana White after it was like a feel good moment, you know? I mean, he's not like a household name, right? Uh, and just the I don't know, it's the emotion and the happiness when Dana White comes up to him and talks to him backstage. And Dana's basically saying like he should give him like $200,000, which he probably should, man. Some of these guys deserve more, you know, especially a guy that's what the fifth fight on the prelims does something spectacular like that. Like give him all the goddamn money, man.
Dude, and this guy's gonna live in UFC highlight reels forever.
Forever.
Like he's gonna be when you go to a live UFC event and they play Baba O'Reilly, that fucking highlight reel that they play it before the main card starts, and you can only find it in the arena. I know we've talked about it on this podcast before because I fucking love it. They only play it in the arena. You can never find it you can't find the highlight reel on YouTube, and they like update it from time to time. This one is going to be because right now the Edson Barboza, and I haven't been to a live UFC event in well over a year, so
Yeah.
maybe it's changed, but the Edson Barboza spinning wheel kick knockout was like super prominently placed in that highlight reel video, along with Anthony Pettis doing the Showtime kick. I feel like this is gonna get so many replays. It's gonna live on in highlight reels forever, man. It's give him all the money. I think it's sad that after that conversation with Dana White, he still only gave him 50 grand, but it's like, of course. But yeah, I hope fucking give Buckley a fucking GoFundMe or something. This guy deserves all the money for just producing one of the most spectacular moments period of the year in MMA.
Yeah, dude, that was absolutely unreal. And hey, I don't know if you saw this one, but I know Buckley's getting all the well-deserved, pop for this knockout. But Mamed Khalidov had a beautiful
Yes.
jump kick knockout, like a jump switch kick knockout at KSW 55 this weekend. Not as great as the Buckley knockout, but very good in its own right. So a little props to Mamed Khalidov.
Well, that was also one if we're talking about context, that one had a little bit more because that guy had been around, was like a long time KSW champion, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. He's
and Scott Askham is pretty good too.
Exactly. Both those guys at this point are like kind of KSW mainstays.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, him being 40 years old, like there was additional context around that knockout that made it even more spectacular. But yeah, that one like happened earlier in the day, and I remember I wasn't watching KSW live, but scrolling through Twitter, and I just saw everybody lose their freaking mind over that knockout, and then it just quickly. How can you not, when you see this Buckley knockout, just like lose your shit? I had people that never watch MMA like DMing me the post on Instagram, and it's like, yeah, I've seen it. Trust me, I've seen it.
Everybody.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it reached all walks of life, man.
Yeah.
It really did. All right, let's move on to the other events that happened this weekend. It was Bellator, and this is kind of weird, man. And I'm not a big fan of when Bellator does this. You can give me your opinion on it, but Bellator had two events this weekend: Bellator 248, and then Bellator France or Paris
Paris?
or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. Like, why not just stack it up with one card instead of doing like two random cards? I don't get that.
And it's like I'm pretty sure I did all my watching this weekend like after the fact, which is, by the way, if you have the luxury to just like chill on Sundays, sip coffee and just watch all the fights that you missed the day before, it's great. But like their broadcasting is like you got to switch to all these different like this is on the app, this is on Just DAZN, this is on CBS Sports. Like
I know it's crazy.
they don't make it super easy, and Bellator, God bless them, they're not the UFC. Like people are not going to be putting in work to watch Bellator always.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird that they do that. Hopefully, they get it straightened out with this move to CBS Sports. But I think the biggest story from this weekend was MVP wins his fight, not in impressive fashion. I like to call him LVP. I like to hate on him because the personality. It's annoying to me. He's a good fighter. I think at this point we can honestly say he's not a great fighter. He's not one of the best fighters in the world. And I think Ross Houston was a solid fighter. I think I undersold him a little bit. But yeah, not the most impressive performance from MVP. I think he is what he is, man. I think he's just a guy that's going to keep fighting these mid tier guys, and I think that's it. He said he wants to fight Douglas Lima after, but Douglas Lima is doing bigger and better things, right? There's a lot of guys in that division besides Douglas Lima. Fight one of them until he gets signed to fight one of them and beats one of them. He's LVP to me.
Yeah. I'm down I'm down for the LVP. I'm down for MVP bashing here because dude, if your gimmick is just to style on guys that are super overmatched, which that is what he does. That's what Bellator does him. Like you better fucking style. And no disrespect to Ross Houston, he is I think not a bad fighter at all. I don't think he's a elite level fighter like Lima is. Like a lot of like guys like Amasov are, even Neiman Gracie I think is several steps above a guy like Ross Houston. Ross is pretty defensive here. Like I felt like he was trying to kind of just play it safe for a lot of the fight. And MVP still couldn't, he kind of smiled at him a little bit in the second round, that kind of stuff. But even the third round, he was just getting held on the fucking cage. It's like, dude, if your whole thing is to be exciting and like do have flashy finishes, you better do it. And he didn't do it here. It was disappointing. He got taken down in the first round and held, which really makes me think, oh, if you put him in there with a guy that has legit grappling chops, a guy like Neiman Gracie or a guy like even like Logan Storley, a guy who Bellator is just totally forgetting about for whatever reason. Um, he's gonna run into trouble. And yeah, get the fuck out of here with him fighting Lima again. That seems so preposterous given the opponents that he's had since that loss to Lima. He's got to fight a Lorenz Larkin. He's got to fight an Amasov, a Neiman Gracie. Man, even like who's the guy that Koreshkov? Yep, that's who I was thinking of.
And I think all those guys you just named, sans Logan Storley, because again, I don't think we've seen enough of Logan Storley just yet to say he could be MVP. But Amasov, Neiman Gracie, Koreshkov, Lima, Larkin, I all think they smoke MVP at this point. You know, so I don't know. I'm over it though. I'm over.
And it's not like they could, like, let's say they could give MVP to Koreshkov, and I'm with you. I think Koreshkov beats him. Like that, they could still go back and put MVP in there against overmatched fighters on their like England shows and still like make money off of it. Like he still could be a marketable star. Just keep doing what you're doing. But like, let's not act like he's ready for a rematch with Lima at all.
That's the point. Let's not act like he's one of the best fighters. He's not. Treat him how he is. He's a Showtime fighter that's going to beat the mid-tier fighters of the world, the low-tier fighters of the world. Let's not act anymore like he's a top-flight middleweight that's going to compete with the best, or welterweight that's going to compete with the best. He's not. keep him. Let's stop marketing him like that, right?
Either that or it's almost like there's no middle ground with like either feed him to another elite welterweight and see what happens, or
That's what
like
they should do.
or at least give him like competitive fights. So I'm looking Jason Jackson, who is a guy who fought for LFA. He might have even been an LFA champion. Had a super super close fight with Ed Ruth, and he's a kickboxer. Like that is like the level of guy, like just on the cusp of being elite. Is kind of the guys that I would love to see MVP against because they would actually test his skill in exciting ways. But for whatever reason, Bellator is only giving him like guys debuting in Bellator, kind of bottom of the barrel, UFC washouts, right? He fought Shinzo Anzai in his last fight, or they put him in the fucking grand. We saw what happened when he fought Lima. So
Yep.
Figure it out. We've been saying it for like years. I feel like figure it out with him.
I mean, dude, we've been doing this podcast for over 3 years, and I feel like we've been talking about wanting to see LVP step up the whole time, and it happened once, and he got starched, and it's just not happened again. And I am not going to want that anymore, right? I'm over the point of wanting it. But I also don't want them to talk about him like a top flight welterweight. Just stop. He's a game crusher.
Well, maybe this is Bellator's grand plan because now I want to see Yaroslav Amosov fucking smoke him. I want to see Koreshkov kick his head off.
I don't think we're gonna though. That's the thing.
I don't think we're going to at all. They would never do MVP against a guy like Yaroslav Amosov who nobody knows who he is and is 22-0. Like they would never do that.
If you want the fight against Lima, call one of these motherfuckers out. Call out Amosov. Call out even Ed Ruth. Fight Ed Ruth. Fight Larkin. There's guys in that division. That's a good division.
Dude, they had Larkin and MVP on the same card, right? For his last fight, and they didn't make it happen. And even like I think Larkin probably beats MVP, but of those guys we've been naming, like that's on paper at least a winnable fight for MVP because Larkin is probably going to stand with him. I don't know, man. It's disappointing what they're doing with him. And this fight, like, I mean, I turned on the TV live for this one to watch. I was like, I'm going to see MVP like land a huge flying knee against this guy. I want to see him style on somebody, and we just didn't get it. And like if you're paying attention, you're probably losing interest.
Yeah, definitely losing interest. In the Bellator Paris main event, Timothy Johnson beats Czech Congo by unanimous decision. I don't know. You got anything else from Bellator? I think LVP was the big thing from Bellator from this weekend.
Yeah, no. I mean, we're going to talk about a pretty big Bellator fight coming up that I'm actually pretty excited about. I haven't since the pandemic has kind of not lifted, we're still in a pandemic, but since Bellator has gotten back to putting on shows, the fight they got coming up this weekend is, I think, the most excited I've been about a Bellator fight.
I mean, why not lead us into that, Ben? Let's talk about it.
Bellator 249, Cyborg against Arlene Blenko. Like, obviously, and is this a third? Yeah, this is a Thursday card. So get excited. We talked about it, but like now we're going to start getting Thursday night MMA, which, yes, I love it. Dude, so like obviously Cyborg is the A side here, coming off that like really impressive win against Julia Budd, one of the biggest stars ever in not just women's MMA, but I think MMA in general is Cyborg. Do not sleep on Arlene Blenko at all, because I think Cyborg probably clinches her up and kind of eats her up, does Cyborg things, but Blenko has absolute power, and she fought, I think, Julia Budd to 2 split decisions. So
she did, yeah.
She is not a household name at all. Crack, and she will exchange with Cyborg. I think hopefully she doesn't kind of cower in the moment, but I'm pretty sure Arlene Blenko will exchange. And you saw what happened with Amanda Nunes when she exchanged with Cyborg. Like, Cyborg can get caught. She's been fighting for a long time, so I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit more optimistic than I am. But listen, man, Cris Cyborg has long been one of my favorite fighters in MMA, dude. She's an absolute savage. She's great on the ground and on the feet. You know, I don't got to explain to you what
Right.
Cyborg is. But yeah, I think Arlene Blanco is a good foil for her. Like you said, she's got a lot of power. I don't think she'll be afraid to stand, but I think that will be her undoing. I think it's going to be typical Cyborg savagery. And yeah, like we talked about, this I think this is like their big card uh, to introduce us to the Thursday night on CBS Sports. I'm excited for it. Yeah, dude, Thursday night MMA, sign me the fuck up. Um, yeah, I think Cyborg goes out there and gets it done pretty damn handily. But if you look down at the rest of this card, they got some pretty solid fights on this. Co-main event is Patricky Freire fighting Jaleel Willis. It should be fun. Ricky Bandejas taking on Leandro Ego. That's a good card. Good card. Good fight. Syed Awad, Mandel Nalo's good. Curtis Millender, Joe Schilling is going to be fun on the feet.
Yeah, banger alert. Big time banger alert on that one.
Aviv Ghazali is on this card. Name to look out for: Kyle Crutchmer taking on Cameron Lachinov. That's going to be a fun one. Mike Kimball's also on this card. Yeah, this is a good card, man.
Dude, Kyle Crutchmer, another welterweight that Bellator has. That, I mean, Kyle Crutchmer, he's 6-0,
yeah.
but with his wrestling, like, he could even give a guy like MVP issues for sure. This is a good card to like get home from work or close your computer if you're working remotely, and just like sit down and enjoy some quality violence. I'm pumped. I do think Cyborg wins here handily. I think she kind of overwhelms Blanco with like knees and a variety of strikes, but like, I'm going to be watching because there will be moments, I think, where Blanco throws back and we're going to kind of be on the edge of her seat because Cyborg will be there, like in front of her, going bombs away. And usually we see Cyborg win there, but Blanco will, I think, give her a couple moments of pause for sure. But yeah, dude, I like this card. I love Ricky Bandejas. Millender Schilling is not going to be the most elite, like well-rounded MMA, but it's an absolute banger. So sign me up for all this.
Yeah, it should be a good card, man. And it leads us into this weekend's card. Dude, freaking awesome main event between Brian Ortega and Shan Sung Jung. But before that, can I just ask you, dude, what have you seen this poster for this card?
I don't think so. Oh, yes, I have.
Look it up.
It's like, on Tapology, yes. The like why are they using
looks like it should
Brazilian
be like
covers?
Right, it looks like it should be fucking Marlon Moraes versus Jose Aldo, right? Like
it's yellow and blue. Like, why are they using it? Looks like a Brazilian flag.
You could barely read the writing. Like, dude, why don't they hire like Boss Logic or something? Like, and even some of these other like Twitter stars online like put out these posters that are way better. Yeah, like I feel like I can make a poster in paint that's better than this.
Not to get too sidetracked, but the guy who Justin, the guy who does our intro videos, which by the way, if you're listening, again, get on YouTube and at least watch the intro video. The guy who does our like intro video.
Absolutely. He could do a better job.
So yeah, that's what he was talking about. He's like, dude, so not just the UFC's posters, but just all of their like kind of artistic decisions, the new metal that they play, like even though it's no longer 2003, like all of their little artistic decisions. And he's a guy who has like an eye for it, right? Because that's kind of what he does, are just so odd. And it's like, if they just invested a little bit more money or even a little bit more effort, they could probably do it for the same amount of money. Like some outside firm that does production and shit, they could help themselves a lot. But yeah, the poster is janky. Everything's a little off with UFC production values. That's a discussion for another day. Me bitching about the live UFC experience and whatnot. But yeah, even this poster, I had never realized that it looks, I mean, you got a guy named Korean Zombie, like that's literally what he goes by. And they just act like that's a cool thing, right? If you were not an MMA fan and you saw Korean Zombie, remember those I have a Korean Zombie t-shirt. Maybe if he wins this weekend, I'll wear it next weekend. The fucking, like anything like that to play up the zombie aspect, but nope, we're going to put him in yellow and green colors. I just
felt like, dude, I feel like this one is like honestly one of the worst they've done in recent memory. It's like it looks terrible.
Agreed.
But nonetheless, the actual fight is freaking awesome. Yeah. It's so good. I feel like, dude, they've been trying to make this fight since I believe like the first time it was scheduled, I think was like last December, if I'm not mistaken. and injuries and different things have derailed it. But we're finally here, hopefully, because you still got a whole week to get through. But Chan Sung Jung taking on Brian Ortega. I think honestly the big thing, or the big question I have, is how Brian Ortega is going to look. When this fight actually happens, I believe he'll be almost 2 years out of the cage, if not 2 years out of the cage. And his last fight was an absolute drubbing at the hands of Max Holloway. He was not competitive. He took a lot of damage. What kind of Brian Ortega do you think we're going to see this weekend?
I hope we see an improved one. Not that he's still an elite fighter. Like, even though he got his ass handed to him against Max Holloway, I think he acquitted himself well enough that he's not a guy that we should be writing off at this point in his career. Um, I don't know. I think there's a ton of questions about him going into this fight. He always cuts a ton of weight. Um, and has he missed weight before, or at least had struggles with weight cutting before? Um, so for me, like, this is not a gambling podcast, but I would be super nervous putting any money on any guy, really, because you don't know, maybe he comes out and looks incredible. But there's just got to be a ton of questions here. And I don't know about you, man, but this is a very kind of difficult fight for me to pick. Any Brian Ortega fight is hard for me to pick because he is like the epitome of a guy that is losing the fight until he wins it, right? He is such a finisher, relies so much on landing that big strike or fighting a guillotine, anything like that. I mean, even going back, like, he was losing pretty handily to Clay Guida. This is back in 2016, so obviously he's evolved since then. Until he, got that finish. He was losing to Renato Moicano until he got that finish.
He was.
When I think about this fight against Korean Zombie, like, my mind tells me, you know what, Zombie's going to be able to find counter punches, which he does really well. He's going to be able to protect his neck. All these things lead me to believe, of course, Korean Zombie's been more active. I think maybe even has more power. That's yet to be seen. But at the same time, like, obviously Brian Ortega has a knack for finding an opening and, like, ending the fight right then and there. And I mean, this is another thing that makes it difficult to predict is Korean Zombie. I mean, we call him the Zombie because he's, like, impossible to put away, right? But let's not forget, like, Brian Ortega was the first guy to finish Frankie Edgar. And I think both you and I picked Frankie Edgar to win that fight. Like, Ortega is such a finisher that it's, like, hard to count him out of any fight, even if he's losing it up to that point.
So, if we took the Max Holloway fight out of the equation, and I never saw that, I might pick Brian Ortega. But man, seeing that Max Holloway fight, and again, that was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, Zombie, he got the name from being this guy that would just eat punches and walk through them. But if you watch any of Zombie's recent fights, he's become a very refined boxer. He's got great counter strikes. He has hellacious power. He's very slick on the ground, which I don't think he gets enough credit for. I think the Max Holloway fight gives me a lot of pause on picking Brian Ortega here. I think just Korean Zombie's striking, his activity. Again, he's been more active. And even if you look at the resumes, I think he's just fought the better fighters throughout his career. I'm leaning pretty heavily towards Zombie here. The odds right now have Korean Zombie as a minus 175 favorite with comeback on Brian Ortega being plus 150. I think they're pretty fair. I think Brian Ortega is going to get hit a lot. I don't think he's going to be able to find the takedowns, but I think you bring up very good points, man. That he is a finisher. He can find finishes in a lot of different ways, whether he's winning or losing the fight. But I'm leaning pretty heavily towards Zombie here.
Yeah, I think those odds are pretty accurate. Maybe even I would maybe expect Zombie to be like minus 200, like a 2-1 favorite. And I do tend to agree with you that I think Brian Ortega is going to get hit a lot here. Even like the Frankie Edgar fight, that was a short fight, but Frankie Edgar was starting to kind of counter Brian Ortega's jab. And a lot of that, like, you realize Ortega is so big for 45 that
He's a big dude,
I think
yeah.
he does like have these flashes of like real boxing skill, where it's like, oh wow, if this guy fought like this all the time, he'd be really good. But then he also seems to kind of get emotional or like try to get guys back, and he's a slow starter. Like, he's just such an an uneven fighter, it seems at times. And that explains why sometimes you'll see him losing an entire fight until the very end when he gets a guillotine or something.
Yeah.
He's kind of all over the place. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Zombie's gonna kind of find openings for counter punches and hit Ortega a lot. And I think Korean Zombie might actually have more power. Well, he certainly has more power than a guy like Frankie Edgar. He might have more like one punch power than a guy like Max Holloway, even. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see Zombie getting Ortega out of there, you know, before the final bell rings. If not, like even in the first couple rounds, just because Ortega has shown to be a slow starter. He is pretty durable. I mean, he took a
He's
fucking
extremely
ass.
durable, dude.
He took an ass whipping against Holloway.
He took a beating from Holloway.
But man, the ring rust I think is real, and he's a guy who's a slow starter to begin with. I think Zombie will have openings early to get him out of there, and then even late. I think there's a skill difference that'll make a Zombie kind of pull ahead. I don't know, like Ortega is not the type of guy who's going to shoot a double leg takedown, and if he does, I don't think he can take down Zombie here. But if it hits the mat at all, how do you see it? How do you see it going down? Do you think Zombie stays on the ground with him at all?
It's going to be tricky. Like I said, I think Zombie has a tricky enough game to where he'll be able to get to his feet. But if it does stay on the ground for any long periods of time, I think that starts to favor Brian Ortega. I think he has great grappling, and he's a very opportunistic grappler, right? I think that would heavily favor Brian Ortega, but I don't see it staying on the mat for very long. I just, dude, I'll give you my pick right now. I think Chan Sung Jung is going to keep it on the feet for most of the fight. He's going to pick him apart. I think it's going to look a lot like the Max Holloway fight, and I think he finishes Brian Ortega maybe in the 4th or 5th round because I think Ortega is durable enough, and maybe it's going to be the ref that has to save him again. But yeah, I see Korean Zombie getting a finish here late.
Yeah, same. Yeah, not exciting, guys, but same exact pick. I like Zombie late. Just because I think there's a skill gap, especially on the feet, that's gonna slowly favor tend to favor Zombie more and more the longer the fights goes on. He's just gonna land more. I think. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Zombie cautiously engage on the mat. Like I wouldn't be shocked if you see him maybe sit in Korean Zombie's guard for if he's able to land strikes and attack him from there. But I do think as soon as shit gets hairy on the ground, Zombie's going to be out of there, which is a smart thing to do against a submission artist of Ortega's caliber.
I agree. All right. Co-main event. Looks like it's a co-main event. My dude, Cyril Gane is back. Dude, I've been so high on this guy. Super athletic heavyweight with some of the scariest striking, and he's finished 2 of his UFC fights by submission, 1 via heel hook, which obviously gets my juices going. But Cyril Gane is back taking on Ante Delija. I don't know, but dude, I'm all Gane here. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful. Watch out for this dude.
Yeah, I don't know anything about his opponent here, but yeah, this feels like a showcase for Gane. Hopefully, it's not too much too soon because this guy does have. I mean, he lost. He fought Marcin Tybura. He lost that fight. I'm looking down. He fought Dion Sterling. He has a win over Rico Rodriguez in 2012. Take that as you will. So this guy's been around for a minute. So it could be a risky fight. But yeah, I mean, this feels like they are giving. They're trying to showcase Cyril Gane here.
I agree. Caitlin Chukagian taking on Jessica Andrade. Andrade is moving up to flyweight for the first time. Should be an interesting one. Andrade is coming off of 2 losses straight, but her last fight, if you remember, was against Rose Namajunas, and if that was a 5-round fight, she may very well have won it. Taking on Chukagian, who does nothing flashy, but she's pretty good at everything. She's got a good ground game. I'm going Andrade here. I think just her pure ferocity is
Yeah.
I mean, what's her name's like the little bulldog or something, isn't there? A bulldog or something along those lines.
I mean,
what is her name?
Is it Bulldozer or something like
Yeah,
that?
Bulldozer maybe. Yeah.
Ate Estaca, which I think is Bulldozer.
Yes, I mean it is very true. I think she goes right through Chukagian here. Maybe not goes through her, but I think she beats her pretty handily.
Well, like this is not your normal moving up in weight class type of move because Andrade started in the UFC at 135 and was fucking good there, right?
She
Like
was.
she has multiple wins at one. She beat Raquel Pennington. Holy fuck, I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Put that in perspective. Raquel Pennington, who is like one of the tougher, more durable, and like bigger
Bigger
bantamweights
fighters,
in
yeah.
the UFC. Andrade beat her. So Andrade moving from 115 to 125 is not like your typical, oh, she's going to have issues adjusting to Caitlin Chukagian's size or anything here. I don't think that's the issue at all. I see Andrade pretty well rolling here. Like hopefully some slams. All like I love Shay. I don't want to see Caitlin Chukagian get hurt, but I think she's probably going to get hurt here.
Yeah, I agree. Any other fights stand out to you on this card?
Dude, Tomas Almeida is coming back.
Yeah.
That's exciting to me. Anytime Jillian Robertson is fighting, that's exciting. Mateus Gamrot, 17-0, former KSW champion, making his UFC debut. Get excited about that. I'm looking down. Saeed Nurmagomedov. Yeah, no, is James Krause on this card? Yeah, against
like
Claudio Silva.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of good fights on this card, man. A lot to look forward to. Definitely excited for Thomas Almeida to come back. Been out for a while, coming off 2 losses, but there was a time that he seemed like he was going to be that dude.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I thought of him as the next big thing at bantamweight for a hot second, and he still might be. I mean,
he's young,
I don't know what's going on. There's definitely some fun fighters and fights on this card for sure.
I agree, man. And last fight we need to talk about before we get out of here. It is not in an MMA cage, but it's in boxing. Boxing is what it is at this point. I don't follow it as much as I used to. I'm not deep in the game like I am MMA, but when there's a big fight, I'll watch it. And this weekend, we have one of the biggest fights. And guess what? It is on ESPN. It's not even a pay-per-view. I have no idea why, but man, I'm happy about it. Vasily Lomachenko, who is the #1 pound-for-pound boxer in the world for a reason, is taking on undefeated Teofimo Lopez. Lopez is 15-0 with 12 KOs, and there's a lot of ways you can get out of fighting guys in boxing, and a lot of guys have not wanted to fight Vasily Lomachenko, but Teofimo Lopez is not that guy. He's cornered and managed by his father, Teofimo Lopez Sr., and they've been calling out Vasily Lomachenko for a long, long time, and we're finally getting it this weekend, dude. I am so amped for this card.
Yeah,
for this fight, I mean.
This is it, man. I mean, this is certainly the biggest boxing fight since they've started doing it. Going back to live fights, and yeah, it's like the epitome of like. I mean, we see it in MMA too, but I also feel like it's especially common in boxing, like a super highly respected champion in Lomachenko. And to be fair, Lopez is a champion. He holds, I think, the IBF belt, but against like a brash up and comer who is just like loud, super confident. That's Teofimo Lopez. And dude, Teofimo Lopez's highlight reel is fucking unreal. At a time and age where I feel like a lot of MMA fans shit on boxing because it maybe feels boring to them or they don't want to watch a full like 12-round fight, shit like that. Which fine. I mean, whatever. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But Teofimo Lopez is is a lightweight that seems to hit like a heavyweight. Like his highlight reel is off the charts. So many one-punch KOs. I cannot wait. This is a fight I've been wanting to see for some time, especially because like, Lomachenko in and of himself is like just a beauty to watch of a different style. Like his footwork, his stance switching, he's gonna style on guys. He's gonna do the prettiest things you can do. He's made guys quit in the corner so many times just because they're so overwhelmed by what he's doing. Absolutely love this fight. And man, we were talking about before we started recording, like this is a fight that I was prepared to shell out the big bucks for. I was ready to buy this pay-per-view, and we were like trying to figure out, wait, is it on pay-per-view? No, man. ESPN. Fucking crazy. Watch this. I cannot wait. I am very excited. This feels like in boxing, like outside of like the Wilder, Fury, Joshua, and to a lesser extent Andy Ruiz, like triangle there. This is it, man. Like in terms of boxing, I mean, unless you got, I guess,
if Canelo fights.
Canelo fights is huge, but honestly, man, he doesn't even get me like this fight in terms of the actual action gets me going more so. A Canelo fight would be the biggest current fight, I think, of any regard. But this fight right here is it.
You know, it feels like for the first time in a while, like Lomachenko can lose this fight. Like,
yes,
you know, he's been just styling on it, beating guys time after time and time again. And it's like there's not real that much like drama going into it because you know Lomachenko is going to just destroy him, but he hasn't fought since last August. You know, over a year. He's not getting any younger. I don't have his age right in front of me, but
let's see, 32.
32, yeah. So, you know, and Lomachenko is a guy that had like, you know, he's only got 15 pro fights, but he had like over 300 or 400 amateur fights.
Right.
So he's been fighting for a long time, and this kid's only 22 years old, and he's confident, man. He's so confident. Yeah, I echo you, man. I am so pumped for this one.
Yeah, this is hopefully boxing will get going in. Like last year, I turned into much more of a boxing fan, maybe more so than I really ever had been in my life. And then obviously the pandemic kind of
derailed it.
Derailed that a little bit because to you know to grow your fandom in a sport, you got to kind of follow it week in week out. And so far the offerings that Top Rank and I think Golden Boy have put forth since the pandemic have been underwhelming. And I get that, like, it's a different model than the UFC. They don't have a roster of guys just like ready to fight. They got to put together these fights. But that said, like, this is it, man. This is the type of fight that would get me back into boxing. Especially if it's exciting, this is the type of fight that they're for sure going to do rematches for and shit. But if Teofimo Lopez wins, like, dude, we got an American star on our hands, like a legit, I mean, Deontay Wilder is pretty popular, but not, I don't think in the same way that Teofimo Lopez could be, because Lopez is so much, I don't know, like I see people just connecting with him more in terms of being a fan of him.
And he's
just
only 22 years old.
He's so young. Yeah, he is poised to be like not just an American boxing star, but a worldwide boxing star for the next fucking decade if he wants to.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot, man.
He's got his hands full. I don't know what the odds are on this fight. I would assume Lomachenko is fairly well favored, but like it's impossible to watch Teofimo Lopez's highlight reel and not get jacked. This guy hits so hard. He is big for lightweight, and you got to realize too, Lomachenko, like, he's been gradually climbing in weight. Lomachenko is not a big lightweight by any means, but I think Lopez is definitely a big, like, strong, young lightweight. So,
oh wow,
I'm super pumped with the odds.
Most sportsbooks have him between -350 and -450, with a comeback on Lopez being +275, +300 at some spots. So he's a big favorite.
I mean, that sounds about right. Just based on experience, and again, I don't know as much about boxing as I do about MMA, obviously, but I mean, I'm looking down Lopez's record, and yeah, there's not a ton of huge names, and he only has 15 fights. He's still quite young, just overall in his career. But this is it. Like, this is why people tune into boxing right here. This clash.
It's a big one, man. I'm super excited. A lot of fights this weekend, man. Bellator's got a great card. UFC's got a great card, and we got this boxing fight. I'm pumped for it.
Yeah.
Thursday, and then the two big ones Saturday, right? I think this is a Saturday card too. So
yeah,
get that split screen ready.
For sure.
I think we covered it all, man. I don't think we missed anything. You got anything else to say before we get out of here?
I think that's it. Just enjoy the fights.
Yeah, enjoy the fights, and as always, give us a follow, hit that subscribe button. Check us out on YouTube. Like I said, man, we're doing good work on there. We got more stuff to come. So please shoot us a follow. We appreciate the support. Enjoy the fights, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Face the pain, no escape, can you step to this? Face the pain, no escape, can you step to this? Face the pain.